being able to connect with people and see how they relate. And it just goes back to show, like, you know, you don't have to wear a cape to be considered a superhero.
That was Malik Parker, director of the Jabali Substance Use Disorder program at Homeless Children's Network. I'm Jeff, and this is Storied San Francisco, a podcast about artists, activists, and small businesses that make this city so unique. In this bonus episode, Malik is joined by his colleague, HCN's Director of Afrocentric Programs, Cameron Smith. The two briefly talk about how they each arrived in San Francisco, then go on to share the history of their nonprofit as well as the myriad programs they offer. Here's Malik Parker and Cameron Smith.
My name is Malik Parker, and my program, or my title here at HCN is I am the program coordinator for the SUD Jabali program that we have here. And in regards to how long I've been in San Francisco, or in the Bay Area rather, it's been longer than I would like to say.
Okay.
I'm doing my best. So I'm from Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Okay. I actually know Fayetteville.
Oh.
I spent some time there in the 90s.
Oh, swear.
Friends of mine, their twins, and their parents were in the military.
Fort Bragg, yeah.
Fort Bragg, that's the one. Yeah,
yep,
I'm like, we have a Fort Bragg out here too, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
And
that's where you're from.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right.
And so came out here. My mom, she's actually from Oakland.
Okay.
And so when she retired, we were actually, I ended up moving back in with my dad, and she wanted me to finish my senior year back home. And so,
of high school?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I did that, and then I got the opportunity to come out here. She was like, hey, I wanted to move out here, be with her and everything like that. And she's like, well, I want you to finish, high school there. Mm-hmm. And so I did that, and graduation was the first week of June. By the middle of June, I was like, yeah. Got that plane ticket and came out here. And so been out here ever since. And so that was around 2011. So about
almost 15 years, huh?
Yeah.
Coming up on 15.
Yeah.
14, I guess, but
I'm trying to hold on to my North Carolina card as strong as I can.
Oh, shit. Okay.
But all that in saying, I do have a firm affinity for the Bay Area, and I think that's just grown as I've stayed, and I went to school at San Francisco State.
Hell yeah, me too.
Okay, cool. Fellow Gator, love
Go
it.
Gators.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so within that, just being able to see how beautiful and just enticing San Francisco is, from just the weather, the people, the culture, the architecture here. San Francisco is small, but it's jam packed with a lot of just a lot of culture, a lot of just everything. Mm-hmm. And so I do have my affinity for it, you know what I'm saying, as well.
On.
Yeah.
Well, and you're not just out here goofing off or fucking around. This work that you do that we'll talk about in a minute. Man,
also,
thank you for that.
Oh no, thank you.
I like givers, not takers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People who contribute to society. I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah,
so thank you.
I appreciate that, brother. Thank you.
All right. Cameron, you're up.
My name is Cameron Smith. I'm the director of Afrocentric Programs. So in my role, I kind of help oversee the operations of a few of our different community-based programs that we have here.
Mm-hmm.
Originally from Columbus, Ohio. Mm-hmm. I've been in San Francisco proper for over 10 years now.
Okay.
I originally came out here just kind of on a whim. Had graduated college, was kind of just hopping around different jobs, kind of had one of those vague, I had an education degree, but I didn't want to be a teacher. And one of my friends was moving out here from college, and he's like, hey, do you want to come? It's really expensive. I just need a roommate. And
he really sold it for you.
Yeah, he really sold it. And, growing up in the Midwest, I feel like every kid has a coastal California dream. My sister had lived in LA. Mm-hmm. And so I always wanted to get out, That's how Ohio feels. It's one of the reasons we have the most presidents, the most astronauts. We're either going to space or anyway, or going to the White House, any way to get out of there. Yeah. I mean, and so unlike Malik, I gave up my Ohio card as soon as I got here. I was like, I'm California. I love the Bay.
All right.
And yeah, and I think I came during the huge tech boom.
Yeah.
Although I have no tech skills, I kind of figured I would somehow get into tech, maybe sales or something. But got my first job working for the YMCA as a basketball ref. And
Here in the city, or?
Initially started, I was making the commute down to San Jose from San Francisco. And then started working for the YMCA's in San Francisco shortly after that. But just found the need to like serve and give back, and I think with this type of work, it really makes you feel very quickly entrenched into the communities in the city. So I really kind of developed a really deep connection with San Francisco and the Bay in general. And I was actually always an Oakland Raiders fan, so that was like the only thing I knew about the Bay was like Raider Nation. And I was like, okay, I'll at least be able to go to some games, But yeah,
we don't even need to talk about what happened there.
Yeah.
Still a sore subject. Let's start with what HCN is and the story of how it came to be, and whoever wants to.
Okay, I can give it a shot. So HCN stands for Homeless Children's Network, and it's been around. It got founded in 1992.
Okay.
It started off between kind of a connection between 6 different shelters, and through Dr. April Silas, who's our current CEO, has been a part of the origin since then as well. And the thought was, what they noticed with different services like case managers or therapists serving youth that were unhoused in shelters is, with a lot of people who are facing housing insecurities, they're moving, they're shifting,
transitory,
and so that means their services are transitory. And so the thought was, how can we have an organization that you have a assigned case manager, you have an assigned therapist, but is not connected to a specific shelter or service. So as the kids move and the families move around, they can still have the same services.
Stability,
yes.
At least in one aspect of their lives.
Exactly.
Amazing.
And so that was kind of the origin, and now it's developed where we're servicing over 2,500 clients a year.
Oh, okay.
We are in more than we have like 60 different partnerships where we have early childhood mental health consultants that will go to different preschools and after school programs. We have therapists through Medi-Cal that are in different schools or in shelters throughout the city. All of our services are based in San Francisco.
Okay.
And so we have our Ma'at program, which is, therapists that have lived experience similar as their youth.
Okay.
And so that's really important, right?
I mean, that'll make some empathy.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
That'll create empathy.
Definitely. I mean,
if it's not already there.
Exactly. As well as for the client. If you are being serviced by someone that maybe has a similar background or looks similar to you, you don't necessarily have to explain your vernacular or what does certain things mean, or community and cultural stuff. You can feel there's a little bit more comfortability there. And then we have our general EPSDT services. So we service the whole city, and then in the last, I want to say 4 or 5 years, we've also have kind of added things outside of just our clinical framework. So we started our Amani program, which is a workforce development program that is focused in community service and mental health training. So people who are looking to start a career in nonprofit or healthcare will go through an 8-month-long program, and will help all the typical workforce skills, resume building, interview skills, but as well as really training them on their own mental health techniques, so they can, heal themselves and then go be community healers, in their careers.
I love that. I have a quick question.
Yeah.
You said last 4 or 5 years. Did any of the programs that came out of that time have to do with the pandemic, or is that just coincidence?
I think that was somewhat coincidence. It was really steeped from the George Floyd movement and the Black Lives Matter movement and the start of DKI. Some of these programs were birthed out of just that kind of movement, that momentum, and HCN kind of stretching its capacity. It had been like, okay, we've been doing mental health services and case management and housing services for the last 25, 30 years.
Right.
What more can we offer to the city? And so opportunities came about, and so we were able to develop the Amani program, and now we've developed the our Jabali awareness campaign, which is a program that we'll probably dive into a little bit more. We are launching a substance use service program, so we'll be actually doing outpatient treatment for youth.
Okay.
And yeah, so we're covering a lot of areas. I don't even think I've covered all the different programs that we
that's already
have.
a lot.
Yeah.
Can I ask how many employees and or volunteers? Like how big is the organization?
It's
right
about I don't know the exact number, but it's about 70 staff.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
That's not small.
No.
And everything you just talked about, I'm like, that's going to take a lot of people to
Yes.
do that work.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And we're growing. We've expanded our services even amongst, kind of the turmoil that's happening in the city. And I think that's just, our work has been able to stand on that. So we've been given opportunities to kind of continue our work or even try new work. Although we've done mental health services, now getting into substance use disorder services, that's a whole new ball game. And we're being good students. We're learning from other providers,
Right.
but then also want to bring what we've been able to do and add that into a substance use component.
Okay.
So right now we are in the midst, we launched in January our Jabali awareness campaign. So it's a public service campaign in partnership with the Department of Public Health. As we know, in San Francisco, we're dealing with the fentanyl crisis. And within that, the Black community has been really disproportionate representing in overdose deaths.
Right.
We represent about 4 to 5% of the population, but represent around 30 to 40% of the overdose deaths.
Yeah.
And so this campaign is really to try to bring awareness around, giving treatment an option, awareness around carrying Narcan, as well as, I don't want to say we're targeting youth, but trying to have early conversations with the youth around the danger. Even nationally, 70% of overdose deaths at 70% have had to deal with fentanyl, whether it's been cross-contaminated, it's been mixed in, so people are even using drugs that they might not expect. And so our campaign is bring awareness, and so we've launched some digital and social media campaign ads, so on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube.
Meeting young people where they are.
Yes.
That idea? Yep.
Malik has done that specifically, talked with youth. And we launched some billboards that are going to be starting in May. So you'll see them on off of Divisadero, off of 80, down in the Tenderloin. And
Can I just quickly say thank you for that? Because like I said, I've lived here a long time, and only maybe in the last 10 or so years, when I am on the freeway here, I'm like, I don't understand a single one of these fucking billboards because they're all super tech.
They're all tech, very
Thank
tech
you for
based.
making a billboard that's like people and things that people can relate to.
Yeah.
Honestly, like that's
Are there like
awesome.
inside tech jokes where you're like, I
Get
don't
the
even,
fuck
you're making
outta
a joke,
here.
but I have no idea.
Get out of here
I have
with
no
this
idea what this
stuff.
is.
And I'm like, I know that those billboards cost money. So
Oh yeah, they do cost. For
yeah.
sure.
Okay. Well, that's amazing, and that's starting this month.
We launched that in January.
Oh,
and then
sorry,
we're in our second flight of it.
Okay,
So
got it.
Basically, a relaunch because you run the ads for a certain amount of time,
Mm-hmm.
then you take a break to kind of let them sit, and then we're relaunching May 19th.
To that point as well too. So we also have like a digital aspect of that as well, of the campaigns. And so like on Instagram, Facebook, within like, if you're scrolling, you're Googling stuff and everything like that, like those little side ads that you may see, it's all predicated within, like the digital aspect is all predicated to area codes within San Francisco.
Okay.
And so like that's how we're like looking to engage within the social media aspect in regards of just getting, young people and everybody else who uses like, the internet, right? To just, at least be aware, put it in front of their faces. And one of the ideas that we were like all like talking about it, maybe I think this was probably in like November, October time frame. We were like, we all met with Dr. Silas, and we were all like, talking about things, and like I remember Cameron was just talking about like there was like a ad and
Sweet
it's just,
James.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah,
Sweet James. Yeah.
And it's
But
just
it
like
sticks with you.
The lesser Ann Fung.
right.
Sorry, James.
Right, it was that all respect. But it's like you would never, you would see it all the time, but like until like it's a situation where you find yourself in, or it resonates with you because of that moment, it's like, okay, boom. And so that's kind of like kind of one of the reasons as to why like the digital, or the significance of the digital aspect of it is just, it's another like channel to just bring awareness and get that exposure out to people. And so then it's just like, okay, well, like if a person was to have someone in their community or their close circle experience or uncover that they were experiencing substance use problems or issues or whatever like that, like this campaign would be something that they could kind of turn to, and just you never know what the outcome may be, but just by getting them aware. One of our ads, the thing that is commonly known is, or it says is fentanyl is 50 times more stronger than heroin. And so just within that messaging alone, just getting people to understand the significance and the importance of fentanyl, and it's not just another drug. It's something way more stronger and has a huge impact, and a lot of people may not know, right? And so just the power of exposure and exposing people to just the whole idea of what fentanyl is and the impact that it has is like a huge component as to what the program does.
I would think also like how fentanyl could come into your life. Like people might know what it is or have an idea and think it's out there or it affects other people, but it's like, I would think part of your campaign is like, no, sneaks in. It's
on every aspect. And so like one of the things is like within like, so we also do offer like free presentations, as Cameron was alluding to, in regards of just like our ways to like engage with the youth and everything like that. So
kind of bring the campaign to life, instead of just seeing an ad in person or on social media. Malik is out there actually doing trainings and education to destigmatize. He'll talk about
boots
more
on the
about that.
ground to bring it.
Just within like the importance of the campaign and like just having these presentations, like in regards of what you were saying about me giving. That's one of the things that I really do enjoy about this organization, and just being able to do this type of work. Like although I'm not from San Francisco, that's one of the things that I do enjoy, because truth be told, like I was like, man, like coming from North Carolina, I'm like, oh man, this is a whole different ball game. The pace, space, all that stuff is different, and like I kind of was just like kind of resistant to it. You know what I mean? Okay. But within that, I've been able to, the more I've stayed, when I go into SF State and doing the work within, I worked at another organization, nonprofit organization out in the Bayview before coming here and everything like that. And so it's just the more that I've come and ingrained myself, engaged with the community, the more it's just like, nah, like y'all my family. You know what I'm saying? Like I have to care, because this is where I'm spending my time, this is where I'm spending my energy. And it doesn't make sense to, how can you not be invested at some level? Being able to connect with people and see how they relate, and
how it helps them.
And it just goes back to show, like, you don't have to wear a cape to be considered a superhero.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like everybody serves a purpose. That's one of the things within the presentations. There's this Yoruba term that I learned when I was at SF State. I took a Black Families class, and the term is called Ubuntu, and it basically means I am because we are.
Yes.
And so just bringing
I've heard
in
that before.
Exactly. So just bringing in the communal aspect and getting people to think about just how much of it is, whether you are a person who uses drugs, or if you're a person who knows someone who uses drugs, or if your whole community, like your whole circle may be not affected, or you may think that they're not affected, but still they are. You know what I mean? Because whether it's from policies to crime to just the simple luxuries of safety. There's certain places where people may not feel safe and they may not visit, but lo and behold, there's a bunch of amazing things that, you know, certain neighborhoods have to offer, but people may not want to go because of XYZ. And so within
we're not far from one of those neighborhoods, which I love.
Right.
But has its issues.
And so within that, it's a thing of just, you know, kind of getting people to be open-minded, you know, and within that, you know, one of the things that, you know, I've had to learn, and, you know, I'm grateful for, like, you know, DPH for working with us and, like, you know, helping us, training us on certain things, but I've had to, you know, kind of uncover certain biases or ways of thinking that I've had within myself, you know. And so as I'm doing these presentations, like I always tell people too, I'm like, hey, just because I'm facilitating this stuff doesn't mean I'm no way, shape, or form a professional. I'm not here to tell you what to think, how to think, but I do want to, like, I know the power of being exposure and what that can do for somebody.
You're learning and growing through the work.
And
Is that what you're talking about? Yeah.
Exactly. And then the thing is too is like, I tell people too, you never know what gem you're going to drop off to somebody and what gem you're going to pick up. And so the power of these presentations is like I love to just hear I love to have conversations. Like these presentations aren't just, you know, me with a PowerPoint, you know, clicking off and reading off thing. It's like, no, like I want to hear, I want to, you know, like have this conversation, because it's not, again, it's not just me. It's a us thing, you know.
Love that.
And so within that, like, you know, the whole thing of Jabali is just wanting for the community to get better, you know, wanting for San Francisco to get better, you know.
Are y'all familiar with United Players over in South of Market? Their motto is "It takes the hood to save the hood," and what you're talking about reminds me of that. It's beautiful.
So interestingly enough, from another presentation, there was this question that was posed to me, and I you know, gave out my answer, but the question was, there was two. So the first, backstory. I've been doing these presentations since January, and within that, the information for me, it kind of gets a bit redundant, because I'm just like, okay, right, and so I'm just like, okay, well, like, how can as the presenter, like, okay, well, how can I make this more, you know, enticing and make me even more excited to give, because I don't want to ever dull out and have low energy and then it not be received.
Like if you get bored with it, that'll come out.
It translates, right?
Then, yeah,
exactly. And so within that, this is why I love having these conversations, because I had a participant, you know, break out, and she was just like, you know, hey, like, you know, just talking about systematic structures, right? And then just like the historical context of America and how like Black folks have been treated, so forth, and everything like that. And it made me think, and I brought that up in my next presentation. And this happened within the past month. And so I had asked people, I was like, hey, you know, I give out this video, and it's narrated by Jay-Z, and it talks about just, you know, the history of the war on drugs and everything like that. And within that, you know, traditionally I ask people like, hey, like, you know, what stood out to you, this, that, and the third. And what I've begun to realize, and like, just like kind of like it become to like kind of clear to me, is that a lot of people already know this information. A lot of people already know about the war on drugs. And so instead of like more so like just like talking about something that we already know, why not like kind of like shift the focus and try to like, you know, uncover what are some ways that we can build for each other, right? And so in regards of like, you know, United Players model, just kind of think about that. What are some systematic ways that we can create within a community, you know, and build on that? And so I started to ask people, and, you know, they, you know, began to, you know, just uncover things and everything like that. But it's just more so, again, like thinking about, okay, well, granted, you know, the city is doing all that they can do, but within that as well, like, okay, well, like, what can we do? You're right, you know, as a community, because it's like, you know, yeah, like there's systems and structures that, you know, the everyday Jane or Joe may not understand or know about. But like in regards of whether it be in having empathy, having an open mind, you know, just showing up for your fellow, you know what I'm saying, brother, sister, cousin, uncle, friend, stranger, those little things like that, you know, go a long way and lay the foundation to, you know, propel us in regards of just, you know what I'm saying, being more open to wanting to be able to help, in a way. And so
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I was wondering, and either one of you can speak to this, has anyone in the history of HCN, anyone who's been through programs ended up working with y'all?
Yes, we've had some people that have come through our Monty program who have either come and been employed by us by either in full-time roles. We also try to identify areas within our programs, like Malik mentioned, with our Jabali program. We needed people to help support the street outreach. So having people, it's a small team. It's basically Malik and I, and we get support from our data and communication teams. But we're the ones running this awareness campaign, and so we can't be everywhere at once. Although wish we could clone ourselves, but and so we are just like, well, we have this workforce development program, and where we're trying to give people opportunities, and so we were able to offer some positions to those people in our Amani program to help support the outreach, and so it gives them experience working in the community, doing the type of service-based work, as well as the Amani program it's all San Francisco residents that are interested, and so you have people who are from the community, in the community, kind of taking that model of, it takes a hood to save the hood, and putting people out there to help connect.
I think it's also the definition of pay it forward, right?
Yes.
Like you received this, and now you're...
Yep. We even had one
awesome.
of our educators who ran into a family member they hadn't seen in a long time who was out on the streets.
Oh, wow.
And, it really kind of showed that full circle, like a lot of people are dealing with this, and it's no one. If you're living in San Francisco or really anywhere, like coming from the Midwest, in Ohio, at one point we were the epicenter of the opioid epidemic.
Appalachia, right?
Yeah, Appalachia, rural suburban Ohio, and and it's funny, like, because part of our education is around stigma. And the opioid epidemic never went away. It just changes, right? It's just been changing, and where we've seen the sentiment in San Francisco, people are looking towards, at least the feeling and what people might say is, they're looking to move more towards being a little bit tougher on crime.
Yes.
I think that there's no way to deny that is what does it look like right now.
Yep.
Because growing up in a red state, when it was hitting Appalachia or rural suburban Ohio, people started having the opposite conversations because it was hurting, suburban, rural, white America.
Yeah. It's always different when it's white people.
And they're like, oh, well, actually, how do we get softer on crime out here? How do we not just throw all these white, and especially with women, like white women, into jail? What's some alternatives? Right. And here we're seeing a little bit of a pushback of being because it's the black community that's really, everyone right now, fentanyl has a grasp on kind of every community, but specifically like the face of it, what we're seeing. And so Malik is doing a lot of work and really helping challenge that stigma. And we're not telling people this is the right way to think, but it's like, kind of check your own biases, check your stigma. Is this really how you feel? And is this really nothing you can do? I think that's also a big thing. People feel like there's no place for them to do anything, and there's a lot of little things you can do. Not everyone is called to do service work, but there's things that just kind of being a neighbor, being a citizen, seeing the benefit for the city yourself. What are things to do? And that's what part of this campaign is to do, is help educate the public.
I love that. It reminds me, and I'm only maybe not even half joking, maybe just like a quarter joking, but I always think like there should be a political party in this country or anywhere in the world just called We Give a Shit.
Yeah, right.
It starts with giving a shit.
Yeah.
That's hard for a lot of folks, but and I'm not judging. Lives are what they are, but okay. So we've got a lot of great stuff. We're gonna need to head toward wrapping up. You've talked about a couple of different programs that you have going on. I think what folks might want to hear, who again are like through this podcast are being introduced to your work, is like, how can they contribute? How can they donate? Can they volunteer? Can they spread the word, et cetera, et cetera? Yeah. So whoever wants to.
Yeah, they can. A great way would be going to our website, which is hcnkids.org. We have, all the information of our different programs. Obviously, donations always great. We always are looking for volunteers. If you're interested or know anyone that could benefit from one of our programs, always feel free to reach out to us. Follow us on social media. There's lots of ways to get involved. And
can you plug your social media handles or how people find you there?
They're HCN Kids, I believe SF. Yeah, HCN Kids
on
SF.
On
all the
things,
different ones. And if you're interested in us coming out, doing a free presentation, we don't need much. We just need a room to speak in, and we also pass out Narcan. So if anyone's ever interested, they can reach out to us. We have Narcan on hand. When we do presentations, we bring them out. So we're trying to disperse as much as we can out into the community for that kind of life-changing thing that can help people.
That was Malik Parker and Cameron Smith from Homeless Children's Network. Check back next week for part 2 with Mike Irish from Emmy Spaghetti Shack. That drops next Tuesday, wherever you get podcasts. Music for Storied San Francisco was produced, performed, and curated by Otis McDonald. Our contributing producer is Aaron Lim of Bitch Talk Podcast. And the show is produced and hosted by me, Jeff Hunt. Now in our 7th season, we have more than 250 episodes available on our website, storiedsf.com, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If possible, please rate and review the show. I want to know what you think. Follow us on Instagram and Threads at storiedsf, and reach us there or email us at storiedsf@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Be extra careful crossing the street. And keep being wacky, creative, and kind out there. See you next time on Storied San Francisco. We acknowledge and respect the first humans of the unceded land we call San Francisco, the Ramaytush Ohlone. We condemn the genocide of these and other tribes across the Western Hemisphere. We honor their legacy and history, and we support rematriation and sovereignty efforts.
This podcast is a proud member of the BFF.FM podcast network. Learn more at podcasts.bff.fm.
BFF.FM, best frequencies forever.